The forum will next hear the voluntary national review by Canada. I will kindly ask all delegations to take your seat, please. It is my distinct pleasure to invite His Excellency Jean-Yves Duclos, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, and Her Excellency Celina Caesar-Chavannes, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development, to make a joint statement. Excellencies, the floor is now yours.
Madam President, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow delegates, colleagues, and friends, good afternoon, everyone. Oops, I'll start again. Madam President, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow delegates, colleagues and friends, good afternoon, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here today at the United Nations to present Canada's first voluntary national review. I'm pleased to be joined by a remarkable Canadian delegation made up of representatives from Canada's provinces, territories, municipalities, civil society, youth, Indigenous peoples, and the private sector. And some of these distinguished representatives are sitting with me on the podium. From your left to your right, Grand Chief Littlechild, His Excellency Ambassador Blanchard, Mayor Barry Urbanovic, Hele Bank-Jorgensen, Nikki Fraser, and behind me, Mackenzie Downing, Andrew Chum-Ilal, Will Amos, and John McLaughlin. I would like to applaud the United Nations for their continued work in challenging all governments to work collaboratively towards ending poverty, building more prosperous and more peaceful societies, and protecting our planet. Canada is proud to support the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and we are committed to advancing the implementation of all 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said it quite well when he addressed the UN General Assembly last fall. He said, "The Sustainable Development Goals are as meaningful in Canada as they are everywhere else in the world, and we are committed to implementing them at home, while we also work with our international partners to achieve them around the world." C'est pourquoi notre gouvernement
That is why our government is introducing initiatives that fight poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that the benefits of Canada's economic, social, and environmental success are shared by everyone.
The work of the Canadian government reflects the broader global need to build more peaceful, more prosperous, and more inclusive societies. Through the 2030 Agenda, we are seeing people and governments all around the world embarking on an ambitious path towards ending poverty and ensuring a more sustainable world and future for everyone. J'aimerais prendre un moment pour traiter plus particulièrement.
I want to pause for a moment and reflect more specifically on two goals: ending poverty and ensuring a more sustainable future. For some, these goals may seem to be at odds. Some believe that we can either grow the economy or protect the environment, that we can generate growth and create jobs, or we can reduce greenhouse emissions. Our government believes that we can grow the economy and protect the environment at the same time. In Canada and around the world, people living in poverty are the most impacted by climate change. When basic needs are threatened, making life harsher for people living in poverty, it seems easier sometimes to support short-term choices rather than developing long-term sustainable solutions. As the Minister of Family, Environment, Children and Social Policy, I have the honor of coordinating our country's efforts in the fight against poverty. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the development of Canada's first ever national poverty reduction strategy a core part of my mandate as minister. We will be unveiling this strategy shortly, but it is important to note that we began tackling poverty in the very first moments our government took office.
First actions was to introduce the new Canada Child Benefit, the most significant social policy innovation in Canada in a generation, a tax-free benefit that gives more money to families to help them with the high cost of raising children. This measure alone is lifting hundreds of thousands of Canadians, including nearly 300,000 children, out of poverty. Our government is also making similar historic investments in a rights-based housing strategy, as well as in early learning and childcare. We know that these are some of the most impactful investments we can make for middle-class Canadians, and we can make for those Canadians that are working very hard to join our middle class. These investments provide opportunities for all, they advance gender equity, they reduce poverty, and they strengthen our economy. Canada's Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development, Celina Caesar-Chavannes, will now share with you what Canada is doing domestically and internationally to make sure that we leave no one behind.
Thank you very much. Actions taken to build strong, resilient economies and societies must be environmentally sustainable. Canada understands the importance and urgency of taking actions on global environmental challenges. That is why Canada has laid out a domestic strategy to take action on environmental issues that reflect the SDGs and our commitment to the Paris Agreement. Canada also recognizes that challenges don't stop at borders. Just as we are working domestically to give everyone a real and fair chance to succeed and ensure that all Canadians can share equitably in our prosperity, Canada's foreign policy is guided by the belief that no one should be left behind. This is particularly true for women and girls. In far too many instances, in far too many places, women and girls face discrimination and barriers in realizing their full potential. Canada has become a global champion for gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, both home and abroad. As such, our government wants to see women and girls fully involved in decision-making and policy-making so that they can shape their services, programs, and policies that affect their lives. We are firm in our adoption of a rights-based approach to our international assistance. We are also firm in our adoption of an intersectional lens to analyzing and implementing programs. This requires us to accept the various ways in which systems of social categorization, like gender and sexuality, race and ethnicity, disability and social class, for instance, intersect with one another. Canada's Feminist International Assistance Policy, adopted last year, focuses on promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls as the most effective approach to eradicating poverty and leaving no one behind. SDG number 5 is at the heart of our efforts. When legal and social barriers that discriminate against women are eliminated, remarkable change happens. With better access to opportunity, assets, and capital, women start businesses, get decent jobs, and make informed choices. And they invest the profits back into their families and their communities. Moreover, we recognize that access to education needs to go hand in hand with access to sexual and reproductive health services and decent jobs. We know this from our own experience in Canada, and we are proud to stand up for women around the world to have these same rights. En tant que Canadienne et Canadienne,
as Canadians, we are proud of the progress we have made. But we also recognize there is more work to do. For too long, underrepresented groups, such as women, newcomers, Indigenous peoples, people with disabilities, LGBTQ2 communities, and others have faced barriers that have held them back and prevented them from fully sharing in Canada's economic, social, and environmental prosperity. In particular, we must acknowledge Canada's history of colonialist policies towards Indigenous peoples, the effects of which persist to this day. Our government has made it a priority to engage with Indigenous peoples in the process of reconciliation and to develop a recognition and implementation of rights framework in partnership with Indigenous peoples, which will go beyond the standards adopted right here at the UN.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared on National Indigenous Peoples Day, no relationship is more important to Canada than a relationship with our Indigenous people. Our government is working together with Indigenous peoples to build a nation-to-nation relationship, one based on respect, partnership, and recognition of rights. Our challenge and our responsibility to Indigenous peoples and to Canadians who face various systemic barriers is to address imbalances that break social exclusions to ensure everyone feels part of what we are building, a better world for all. Furthermore, the Government of Canada is committed to upholding dignity and respect for the LGBTQ2 community, both home and abroad, as Canada continues to take a leadership role in the Equal Rights Coalition. We must work to reduce social, political, and economic uncertainty, and we can do so by ensuring that prosperity benefits everyone. We must engage with underrepresented groups by protecting and promoting their human rights, by increasing their participation as decision makers, and by fostering conditions that give them greater and sustained access to resources. In short, we must put people at the heart of all that we do. I will now return the floor to Minister Duclos to conclude.
Thank you very much, Celina. Canada's first voluntary national review allows us to take stock of our progress and chart a path forward together. And when I say together, I mean not just in Canada, but also here at the UN, which is and will remain a vital forum for global cooperation and solutions to the world's most pressing challenges. In building a better world, multilateralism demonstrates that we are stronger when we stand together. Canada is your ally and partner on our common path to fulfilling the 2030 agenda. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much.
I thank the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development of Canada for their joint presentation. I now invite delegations to have an interactive dialogue with the presenting country. Before I give the floor to the first speaker, I once again appeal to delegations to observe the time limit of 2 minutes for each intervention. I recognize the delegation of Bangladesh.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, we appreciate Canada's efforts in implementation of the 2030 agenda. I have two questions, one from the developed country perspective and the other one from the developing countries perspective. My first question is, what are the efforts being made in Canada for the youth in Canada so that the technology-driven job market do not exacerbate inequality in the society? And the question two, first of all, we recognize that Canada is one of the biggest development partners of the developing world, particularly the LDCs. Now, how is Canada going to achieve or meet the targets of SDG 17, to be more specific? Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Bangladesh for his intervention. I now invite the distinguished representative of the Dominican Republic to take the floor.
Muchas gracias y
Thank you very much. I should like to thank the Canadian Minister for their presentation and say that I wish to address the following question to you. In today's world, we're looking at a rapid urbanization, and this is in many ways a threat to sustainable development, particularly for developing countries. And then with that in mind, I'd like just to come to what Canada said in the presentation and looking at urban resilience and climate change, particularly when there are emergencies resulting from climate phenomena, extreme weather events, which are more and more frequent and very often on an extremely large scale. What is Canada doing to address this, considering the convergence between ever swifter urbanization and climate change? And Canada has always been an important partner for developing countries. I'd just like to ask you what your position is when it comes to countries such as the Dominican Republic and other small island states, those of us particularly in the Caribbean. We're in the path of hurricanes and similar phenomena. And there are high levels of wildcat spread of cities. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Dominican Republic for his intervention, and I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of France.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President. France would like to congratulate Canada on the high caliber of the VNR and their commitment to the 2030 agenda. I'd just like to refer to SDG 11 and ask a question about that. This is on sustainable cities, because while there are many challenges attendant on this, France attributes priority to poor housing, and I'd like just to come to this. Since 2008, we have a right to housing, which can be contested. 120 or so households have been rehoused, but there is still much need, and a project underway is intended to simplify building to provide houses. And we pay particular attention to difficult supplies of energy. We're coming to SDGs 13 and 11, because more than 1.5 million French households say that they feel cold in their houses. In April this year, we started on a plan for heating in houses to renew our pattern there, which uses a lot of energy. We see that Canada has launched a national strategy on housing, and we'd like to ask to what extent this strategy has made it possible to meet the challenges of SDG 11 and the other SDGs. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for her intervention. I now invite the major group of children and youth.
Though Canada has much to be proud of, including its strong democratic and social institutions and a high average standard of living, many within Canadian society are at risk of being left behind. Indigenous peoples, LGBTQ2S+ populations, persons with disabilities, racialized minorities, youth, and older persons are particularly vulnerable. Strong multi-stakeholder engagement in implementing Agenda 2030 is key to addressing these gaps. The Auditor General of Canada has reported that despite some promising initiatives, the Government of Canada is not prepared to implement Agenda 2030. The Government of Canada does not have an Agenda 2030 implementation strategy, nor has it clearly outlined an internal governance structure to oversee implementation efforts, inclusive of multiple stakeholders. However, we applaud the creation of a whole-of-government SDG unit. An array of policy tools, in addition to committing funding, is crucial for effective Agenda 2030 implementation. Though Canada's VNR strongly emphasizes public spending to solve issues, education, regulation, intergovernmental cooperation, incentives, and other tools are also crucial. Canada is regressing on multiple SDG indicators, including food insecurity, the percentage of Canadians in core housing need, and access to water in Indigenous communities. However, in Canada's VNR, reflection and commentary on these stark realities is limited to non-existent. Establishing Canada's domestic SDG targets are an opportunity for national dialogue and consensus building on the future of our country. This dialogue must be evidence-based, pragmatic, respectful of Canada's geographic, cultural, and ideological diversities, and must take place across multiple scales from the local to the national. How and when will the Government of Canada entrench multi-stakeholder representation within SDG implementation? And how will multi-stakeholder engagement occur with the SDG unit and in the development of the national SDG implementation strategy? Thank you.
I thank the representative of the major group of children and youth for his intervention. I now invite the representative of Fiji to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We congratulate you for delivering an excellent comprehensive report. The efforts made to make women more engaged in all spheres of life in Canada is appreciated. On question, would you like to share some concrete examples for this? Thank you.
I thank the representative of Fiji for his intervention, and I now invite the major NGO group to make an intervention.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Melody McLean, and I'm with Alliance 2030, a Canadian network of organizations, institutions, and individuals committed to achieving the SDGs both in Canada and abroad. We believe that the SDGs can be accomplished in Canada and globally by working as partners creatively and collaboratively at all levels, and by ensuring the meaningful inclusion of all stakeholders in the SDG process, from the development of an implementation strategy to the setting of targets and the selection of indicators. With this in mind, I would like to add 3 questions to the statement made by my distinguished colleague. First, what kind of authority will the SDG unit have to influence the development of Canada's targets and indicators? How will you determine national priorities and develop ambitious, concrete, and time-bound domestic targets? Second, how will you ensure the meaningful participation of multiple and diverse stakeholders in the development of targets and indicator selection? And third, once targets are established, will the SDG unit have authority to ensure that departments are integrating and monitoring the targets? Thank you.
I thank the representative from the NGO major group. That's the last question, speaker on the list. I now invite the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development to respond to the questions that you heard so far.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Madam President. But thank you also, of course, to the very good questions that I have and that we have had the benefit of receiving. I know the time is short, and for that reason, I will try to answer each question to the best of my ability in a short time. However, I want to say that we will be providing written answers to all of the questions that we have heard, and we'll make those answers public in a spirit of accountability and transparency, which we believe to be the right spirit in Canada to demonstrate progress on the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals over time. Now, let me also say that Canada finds itself privileged to have so many friends in this room and around the world, friends and allies with whom we'll look forward to collaborate over the weeks and the months and the years to come on all sorts of global challenges, including, of course, the ones that are specific to the Sustainable Development Goals. And in this, I want to also to signal the fact that not only do we find allies and friends across countries, but also allies and friends and partners with our rich stakeholder community in Canada. So first, Bangladesh, thank you so much for highlighting one of the very important source of changes in our world, the link between technology, globalization, labor markets, economic growth, and the inclusiveness of the impacts of that growth, and in particular, the link with our younger Canadians, the fact that not only do they face a world of greater inequality in many respects, but also a world of greater uncertainty. Let me also commend you for the fact that SDG 17, although it's the last SDG, it's the last goal, it could well be the first one, because partnership is at the center of everything we'll be doing together over the next years. Dominican Republic, thank you for highlighting the link between urbanization and climate change. We are very mindful of this in Canada. We are working very hard with our cities and municipalities to make sure that they have the opportunity to take the full role that they deserve to take in order to make our societies and our environments both more inclusive and more sustainable. And thank you also for signaling the fact that smaller states across the world, and including our friends from the Caribbean, value the opportunity of working with countries like Canada. We'll be there to support and work with you over the years on these important and this important agenda. La France, évidemment, avec laquelle nous partageons.
France is a country with which we share deep values and much history. And during our establishment of a strategy, we were able to benefit from France's vast experience regarding housing. A few months ago, I met my colleagues in the French government who very generously shared with me the way in which France, over time, has provided affordable, safe homes to its citizens and thereby contributed to the development of that country and realizing its potential. We've noted France's development strategy there.
In Canada, need and expect and deserve our full support. We are well aware that many of our younger Canadians struggle in our society. We will be working with them very closely. I have had the benefit yesterday and today of engaging with many youth leaders in this very place in New York. We look forward to do this more intensely over the weeks and the months and the years to come. Indigenous peoples, the relationship with Indigenous peoples is the most important relationship of our government, and we are looking forward to developing that relationship as we work, as we proceed over time. On that aspect, may I also signal that in Canada we are working very hard to make sure that diversity is a source of strength and a source of pride. Diversity in our world can also sometimes look as if it is a source of tension, and that's natural to human nature. In Canada, we're doing everything we can to make it a source of strength and pride. And finally, since time is up, let me say that we are looking forward to the models that you will have set and that you will be setting when it comes to engagement, how we work with the civil society, how we work with the private sector, how we work with other levels of government, how we work together, what type of mechanisms are best suited to achieve the very important sustainable goals, again, together. Thank you so much, Madam President.
I thank the Honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development for their presentation today. I also thank all the delegations for their valuable contributions. I think we can applaud the